It's the Fellowship of the Geek Show, a weekly podcast about comics, the comic book industry, and other geek pop culture. Music courtesy of Manny the Martyr. And now, on with the show! Hey everybody, it's the Fellowship of the Geeks podcast. My name is Thomas Chick, and joining me for this episode is Mike Marlowe.
Hey gang.
Les Webster.
Hello all.
And Liz Newman.
Hello, everybody.
How are you guys doing?
Okay.
She will never say great again.
I won't.
Well, by the sound of the cow, I'm doing okay too.
Hope everybody out there is doing okay. So, what's going on in your corner of the galaxy?
Oh, I'm tired. Well, fortunately, I was in a position where I could pick up my books from my local comic shop last weekend, and so I've been catching up on some of those. I was a couple issues behind on Knights at the Dinner Table, which is always fun. Then I got some trades here and there, and a few things, and a whole bunch of more sitcomics. So I just got a ton of stuff to read now. Now I just need to find time to read it all.
That's my problem.
Yeah.
I have a big, nice stack, and I'm like, ooh, this is going to be really cool to read. But it's like...
Oh, yeah. I wasn't done from the last bundle that I got, and I've got another bundle now, and it's starting to pile up again.
The never-ending pile.
Mm-hmm. Which is, I guess, a good problem to have, but it makes us behind when we talk about stuff.
Yeah.
On the show.
Yep.
That's the downside.
Well, I didn't read anything current. I guess for tonight's episode, I've kind of been reading a lot of the older, like, Spider-Man and stuff, which is really kind of cool because I like Spider-Man, but I've never read a lot of Spider-Man, so kind of discovering who he is as a character and that kind of thing's been kind of cool. Which, by the way, they released the Spider-Man trailer. Have you guys seen it yet?
Yes, I have.
Oh, I had not watched it yet. I saw that it was out. I hadn't gotten around to it.
Yeah. Looks like it's going to be pretty good.
It looks pretty fun.
Yeah, what I've heard so far, which is not much, has been very positive.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, other than that, that's about me.
I definitely...
Weird,
go ahead.
because I've been reading a lot of digital comics here lately, but, for the older stuff and everything else, so that's kind of been different too. And I can say if I had to choose, I prefer to have the books in my hand. There's just something about the smell of the paper and holding it, and it's a lot better than the glow from a screen. So
I bet if you look online somewhere, like Etsy or something, you could find a candle that has that scent.
I bet. Well, this is going to sound so corny, but since they've changed the paper, some of them smell different than other ones do now, so it's kind of weird. But it's like my thing. As soon as I open a book, the first thing I have to do is sniff it before I can read it. It's just a calming.
There are so many addiction jokes in there that
Yeah.
I don't even know where to start. And I said addiction jokes. That's what I said.
Mm-hmm. Talking about the Spider-Man trailer, I do approve of Mysterio's look. Very, very, very faithful to the comics, yet different. It looks great. I mean, even with the dome, he's got the fishbowl head. So yeah. So yeah, if you've not seen it, you check it out.
Yep.
It's out there.
It looks fun. Yeah. It is everywhere.
Good luck
Yeah.
not finding it, right?
Yeah.
This past week, I got into a couple of the Dynamite collections. Lords of Mars, which is a reprint of the series with John Carter and Tarzan. And then the Man of Bronze, Doc Savage, which collects that little series. It's been fun. It's nice to have a sit down, have that time to take in everything you can, just like was spoken of before. When you get that little break, you can catch up on a lot of stuff.
Les is getting his pulp on.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. Some kind of fun stuff there.
Okay. For me, just basically I'm still kind of behind on my pulls, reading those. And we should probably take a couple of moments to discuss. We had our first meetup, or now we can actually talk about it since it actually happened on the 12th. That this is going to be dropping the 20th. Yeah. Very nice turnout. Appreciate everybody coming out, and actually was informed that there was a few other people who were wanting to show up but could not make it, so the turnout would have been even bigger. I appreciate everybody who did come. Sounds like everybody had a good time. I know I did. If you didn't get a chance, we're going to be doing this every second Saturday of the month. You can keep up to date. We have added an events page on our website. So if you go to www.thefellowshipofthegeeks.net, click on the events tab, and we'll have not only our obviously our meetup events information there, but whatever other things that we plan to do, because we've got some things in planning stage. Some are in the very, very early planning stage, but we're going to be doing some really fun stuff this next year. So, what were your thoughts? Y'all were there. What y'all think about the meetup?
I had fun.
I wasn't there. You can't prove nothing.
I was asked if the wizard was there.
I thought I was sitting next to you, Mike. I could be wrong.
Yeah. Nope. I have an alibi. I wasn't there. No, it was fun. It was a good time.
Yeah, I had a good time
Have
too.
pictures.
Yeah, I am kind of front and center there in the picture, huh?
Right. You even leaned forward in
There's
it.
another guy who looked just like me.
It was the evil clone.
It was Bruce.
Now, I'm pretty sure the clone is the good one, but anyway.
True. That's why he was so happy.
Mm-hmm. That's why I send him out in public.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun. I don't think we really had one topic that we talked about. We
No, we were all over the place. It was great.
all over.
Lots of comic stuff, lots of movie stuff, lots of TV stuff.
Even some normal books.
Mm.
Yeah, a couple. Lots of cookies.
Lots of cookies.
Lots of cookies.
Lordy. And they were good.
They were good.
How good were they?
I don't know. Fill in the blank, I guess.
42.
There you go. Oh, and that's something else we probably should be bringing up. Was brought to our attention, and I've been doing a little binge watching. But the channel Twitch Presents is doing a encore run of their Doctor Who marathon, and this is running through the 25th. So definitely go check that out if you're a Who fan.
The 25th of January or the 25th of
January.
February?
25th of January. They're running it through basically this entire month.
Okay. Cool.
As of recording, we had our first full day of Tom Baker. Yeah, so yesterday was a sad day because I saw the Pertwee regeneration twice. I was like, I had to tear up because Pertwee, as I've mentioned before, is my favorite Doctor. So, but it is fun watching Tom have fun as the Doctor. And something else I'd like to point out. I found a video, and I'll send Mikey a link so we'll have it in our show notes for everybody to check out if they want to. Someone had put together, and it takes about an hour, all the regenerations from the first Doctor up into Jodie. So it was William Hartnell up all the way up to Jodie Whittaker. And it's not just a simple, okay, here's a little bit from the last episode and here's a little bit from the new episode and just splice it together. He did some work on this because with like William Hartnell, a lot of it, the original, there were just bits of film that survived. The rest of it was gone. So some of it was actually animated, but they also used footage from the Christmas special, which happened to be Peter Capaldi's last episode. So they used footage from that, and even the two Doctors meeting. And it was really kind of cool watching all of that and seeing the transitions and all that. But something kind of dawned on me as I got toward the end. It's so funny watching the 10th Doctor regenerate to the 11th, and then 11th into the 12th, and then 12th into the 13th. And even to a certain degree, we saw some of it with the 9th, and then the War Doctor. It's kind of the same thing happening. It's like basically a surge of energy, and particularly with the last 2-3 regenerations, it has to destroy the TARDIS completely, which I don't get that other than, okay, that gives us an opportunity to build a new set for the new actor. But watching the regenerations for the first series, so from 1 through essentially 7, how different the actual regeneration sequence is. They weren't the same. So it's like, obviously they had to get kind of creative since they didn't have the funds for special effects. But here you go with the new series that has the computer graphics and all that, and they virtually do the same thing every time. With very, obviously the only difference are it's different actors and they have different lines, but essentially the same thing happens. And I was just like, oh man, here's an opportunity to kind of do something a little different and this, that, and the other, but y'all don't do that. It's like it's the same thing over and over and over again.
Right.
So
let's make it into a formula.
Yes, exactly. It's very formulaic. So it was just kind of funny that pop in my head that, seeing the other previous regenerations, but some of them I had not seen before. I had not seen the William Hartnell to Patrick Troughton regeneration, and a couple of the others, and so it was kind of interesting, kind of seeing that, but it was really worth it. It was really, I highly recommend. We'll put the link in our show notes. I definitely recommend checking it out because it's kind of neat to see it.
Yeah, I think I want to watch that.
Like I said, it's about like an hour and 1 minute.
Oh, that's fine. I can find an hour, I think, to watch that. Sounds interesting.
But even then, even when I watched that, I teared up when I saw Pertwee, and then I teared up when I saw Capaldi. Those are my favorites, and of course Baker is a favorite. So seeing their particular characters, their versions kind of die off, it was kind of sad, but it was interesting, kind of watching all that. So, alrighty. Before we get into this week's topic, want to take a couple moments to thank the fine folks at Things from Another World, who are a sponsor of the Fellowship. If you go to our website, which I had mentioned earlier, is www.thefellowshipofthegeeks.net, and click on the Sponsors tab, you'll see some of the current deals that they're running, which actually right now is just their regular deals. But still, they're pretty impressive. There's always a pick of the day. There's 50% off Nick and Dent Comics. So while you're on that page, just click on any of the links or click on the image that you see at the bottom of the page. That'll take you to their website and let them know that we sent you their way, and just check it out and knock yourself out. And keep checking their website because I'm sure there'll be a sale coming up here real soon, and we try to update all their deals as quickly as we can. So just keep checking that, and thank you, Things from Another World, for being a sponsor of the Fellowship. Okay, right around this time, about 45 years ago, give or take a week or so, a character made his debut in Marvel Comics, and a character who it took a while. According from research I've done, he seemed real popular, but it didn't. It seemed like it took another 10 years before he got his own book, and then even then it was a miniseries. But he was a real interesting character, and I guess you could see why he would be popular. Even so popular to not only get a series of ongoings, has had how many films now? We've got one, two,
three movies, I think.
3 movies, yeah, 3 movies, and then his own Netflix series, which I believe the second season's out or something like that. And the character I'm obviously talking about is Frank Castle, the Punisher. Now, what surprised me when I was doing my research, that the inspiration for the Punisher was the Executioner novels.
Mac Bolan,
yeah. That kind of surprised me. I mean, I was familiar with the books. My dad read them. My uncle read them. And all. I've not checked them out. I think Les has, haven't you?
Yes, I have.
My natural thought process was that he was kind of inspired by the early Death Wish films, Dirty Harry, and that kind of thing, because it's kind of the same. I mean, they're vigilantes, although Dirty Harry's not so much a vigilante.
Yeah, he's a vigilante with a badge.
He's a vigilante with a badge. He works within and without the law, where clearly the other two don't. So that was kind of my thinking, and they were around about that time, or maybe similar, come out similar times, not too far off.
I believe the first Dirty Harry movie was 71,
Okay,
I think.
okay. So you can see where I kind of I would have that kind of a take, but we kind of wanted to talk about why this character is so popular. And he showed up in an Amazing Spider-Man, which number was it? 124, I believe.
129.
Yes.
129. Okay. And he basically showed up. He was going after Spider-Man, believing that Spider-Man had killed off Norman Osborn, and so that's how they crossed paths, and showed up in a few other Spider-Man issues, and then, like I said, finally got off a spin-off, and has had varying degrees of success since then. So this is not a character I've done a lot of reading on. I've read bits and pieces. I've read runs here and there. I'm familiar with Microchip, his I don't want to say sidekick, but basically kind of like his version of Q. He kind of handles the tech and all that. But I mean, he's kind of an interesting character, but he's not kind of my forte. And the thing is, I mean, he is truly the anti-hero, because I mean, just even down to the costume, where everybody else has brightly colored costumes and that kind of thing. Here he is in black and white, and then you've got the white is actually a skull on his shirt or
Probably body armor, honestly. But yeah.
body armor. Yeah, I was about to say
Kevlar.
yeah, okay, well, yeah, Kevlar. Yeah. So, but
Yeah, it sends a message, that's for sure.
Yeah, yes, it does.
There's a definite sense you get from that. It's not really all that subtle.
He's the angel of death, more or less. If you're a bad guy, you know, he's your. I mean, he's
Right.
out to punish you. That's why he has the name.
If you can be shot in the face, he's coming for you.
So, what are your guys' thoughts about the Punisher and him as a character and why he's so popular and all of that?
Well, I like the Punisher because sometimes it's hard to tell if he's a good guy or the bad guy. Like you were saying in the first issue, you know, he was after the hero of the series, you know. I don't know if Spider-Man could have defeated him. So I think when he exposed the plan and what Jackal was doing and everything else, and it kind of showed the Punisher that, oh man, I'm not taking out a criminal element, I'm working with a criminal here. But the one thing I didn't understand is, you know, Frank Castle's got a code. And that code is, you know, if you've hurt somebody or wronged me, you're going to die. You know, I won't hurt people around you. You are the one I'm after. You are the one that's going to die. So when Spider-Man exposed Jackal for who he was, it still didn't show that Spider-Man didn't kill his friend. So I'm not sure why he decided to give up on Spider-Man at that point, because I don't, you know, that's the whole reason he went after Spider-Man. And usually he doesn't stop until that person's dead. So that one was kind of confusing for me. It was a first appearance, and they have done better stories for him. But I think that's what I like about the Punisher is he's got a code. It's not just some crazy guy out on the streets. You know, there's a purpose behind what he's doing, and as crazy and violent and you know, all the bullets involved, it is a sort of justice, you know. And I think what his background story, his wife and daughter were killed by the mob because they were supposed to testify of a crime they had witnessed, and that's what kind of started him on this was, I'm going to take the mob out. And then he found out, well, it's not just me they've hurt. There's other people that's been hurting. And, this person says, it is kind of neat. I do like the character that way. I can see why they've had to tone it down for TV. But I think Netflix has really stepped in and filled in the oomph that they took away from him. I really enjoy it. I'll be honest, I have not seen this solo series, but I watched it with Daredevil just because my boy Shane was back. They just killed him off The Walking Dead, and then Netflix announces, hey, we've got him over here. But it was really good. And even with Daredevil, they were on opposite sides for a minute before they both figured out, wait a minute, we're fighting each other, but it's for the same end purpose. Maybe if we fight together, we can take out the end and we don't have to kill each other. So, yeah, I like him. I'll probably go back and read more of him. I have a lot of his solo stuff. They did the foil covers and the die cuts out of the fronts of them and that kind of thing that I've kind of looked through, and those were some pretty good solo stories too. I could see him being a good guy if he went by rules, which he doesn't. That's what I'll always put him on the opposite side. Or I guess any hero he runs across, that's what will put him on the other path.
See, I have to admit, I was a little surprised that he was created as early as he was. Because I kind of always got the impression that he was like almost the stereotypical, how comics sort of went into the super brooding dark thing in the 90s. It always struck me that he was like custom built for that. And so it never really occurred to me. I mean, I probably first started hearing about Punisher in like the very late 80s. And it never occurred to me that he hadn't just been created. So I really always kind of felt that he was probably just sort of the stereotypical 90s dark hero thing. So I was a little surprised to find out he'd been around since 1974. I also find it surprising that given how, yes, he was very popular there for a while. The problem is that while really only lasted a few years, which I thought was interesting. I didn't realize, he had like 4 titles going at once there for a couple of years. But then those 4 titles kind of quit selling and went away. And he would kind of come back every so often and do something, which is great. That's fine. But that he's so widely regarded still strikes me as odd, given that his popularity was really only about a 5-year span. And that just, I don't know, that's weird to me. I honestly, I was never that into Punisher. The idea of the character didn't appeal to me. It kind of originally struck me as just a sort of a brutal clone of Batman who likes to shoot things. And I didn't, at the time I was still kind of new into comics and didn't want guns in my superhero books. And so I just never really picked up Punisher at all. So, I know a little about him just because people talk about it, but I think there's just a lot of interesting contradictions there. It's an interesting character almost from a cultural standpoint, even without having read all the stuff.
See, I almost thought Batman too. But he took that extra step that Batman never would, and he was kind of like, I've been screwed by the justice system. There is no justice. I have to make my own justice, and I'm not going to fight this guy again. So I'm going to kill you now. be done with this. I'm not going to keep chasing you down and throwing you in Arkham, but
Right.
uh,
Every bad guy you put down is one less person to get up and try to smack you again. I understand the logic. It makes sense
yep.
to me in a realistic sense, but I don't know. I think I probably made the Batman comparison because it was right around the time of the Burton movie.
Yeah.
So Batman was large in everybody's vision at that point, and so something like all of a sudden there's these couple of new Punisher titles coming out, and I'm like, okay, who is this guy? Why did they create him? Just to make a buck off the Batman craze, without really reading into it at all, without doing my homework. I was young, I was dumb. What do you want me to do? So, yeah.
I am of the same group. I wasn't into the Punisher. I did read the War Journal when it began, but to me, it kind of got tiresome, and the threat was very similar almost every issue. So he was an interesting character, but to me, it just didn't expand far enough. And he ended up in, I want to say, outside of the miniseries, he had his own series. He had War Journal, and he was appearing in one of the magazines that Marvel was putting out. So, various incarnations. I just couldn't come to make myself sit down and read or fork over the money for a series that didn't do that much for me. And the movies didn't do any justice there either. I did get to meet Thomas Jane at one of the conventions, but it was nice to listen to him talk about it at a little group, so that was worth it. But I still didn't go back into the convention and grab all the Punisher books that I could find. It just didn't appeal to me.
I did enjoy the Thomas Jane film. I've tried to watch the one that was after that, the Punisher War Journal, and didn't particularly care for that. But there was something about that version with him, that version of the Punisher, seemed to strike me. No pun intended. I enjoyed the film. Yeah, this is not a character I kind of go out of my way to read. I've read some of this stuff, but it's so why do you think this character is popular? Is it the whole revenge or kind of working outside the law, which technically all superheroes kind of do? I mean, what is it that readers find appealing?
I hate to say that he kills them, but it's kind of that he kills them. You've got Superman, who's the good boy, and Batman, who won't kill him, and so when you get this guy come along and he's capping him left and right, it's kind of like, wow, he. And then I'm not saying that the others don't feel as strongly in their cause because they don't kill him, but it just kind of shows that he believes in what he's doing, and that's not really a consequence for him, So he's willing to do whatever it takes for whatever justice he's fighting for at that point. And he's kind of got that, I don't care, fuck you attitude, You don't like me? I don't care. I'll shoot you. You know, it's there was no appearance as far as he was concerned. I am what I am, and this is what it is, and I don't need flashy colors or anything. I'd rather you just see me in the shadow. Prefer not to see me at all, but
Doing the job that nobody else will do.
Yep,
Doing the dirty work.
yep.
And
He's actually down in the trenches.
and I think that it was, I don't know, almost well, I mean, it probably wasn't luck, but that he hit it, that they started, that they did the build up with him when they did, I think was probably not an accident, because that was that time period when comics were going dark.
Yep,
And I mean, the people who had been dark up to that point were going darker, and the nice guys were starting to go a little dark. And I mean, say what you will, it don't get much darker than the Punisher. Because again, he goes out there guns a-blazing and just starts killing people, and they all deserve it. There's that kind of dirty little instinctive thing inside of us that loves to see that revenge thing going on. And that's what he's built on right there, is revenge and justice.
yep,
The dark side of justice. And I think in that early 90s time frame, that was what people wanted. And so that sold big time. Um, and then I think it probably burned out faster than Marvel would have liked. And so they could only ride the train for a handful of years there before it just sort of started dying out, and it stopped being interesting, because it really was the same thing over and over again. It was, he finds a bad guy, he goes out, he shoots him, and then he gets away, or whatever. That's a formula that's only going to be interesting for so long. It's just like any sitcom on TV today. Sitcoms don't generally last very long because the formula gets old after a while. I mean,
yeah,
sometimes that's 1 year, sometimes it's 3 years, sometimes it's 10, but eventually it stops. People stop turning it on because it's the same old thing. I think he just happened. I think there was just a lucky timing thing where they brought him out, they dusted him off, and stuck him out there at just the right time to capitalize on that dark and brooding thing that was going on, the anti-hero craze of the early 90s.
yeah.
What makes him popular now?
Is he popular now?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess he's popular enough to get his own Netflix show, I suppose. But
Yeah.
well, I suspect. I mean, the beginning of that whole Netflix show thing was Daredevil, and my understanding, I will admit in public here, I haven't watched any of that stuff. My understanding was, though, what I was told about it, what I've heard about it through um, official and casual reviews, is that what made that show great was the dark and gritty combat. You know, I mean, again, Punisher fits right in with that. It's like a it's like a small little resurgence of that early '90s thing. It's just a sort of a prime window for him. Pull him out for a couple of years and sell him again for a little while until people get tired of it. Because with extreme violence, they almost always get tired of it. They start wanting fluffy bunnies and puppies again. And then you get Batman back out and everything's fine.
To hell with fluffy bunnies.
I was just going to say, I just compared Batman to fluffy bunnies and puppies, and you people aren't calling me on this. Come on. Wake up, everybody. Jeez.
Well, compared to the Punisher.
Right, and that's kind of that was kind of the point, was compared to the Punisher,
Yeah.
Batman is a sweetheart.
Yeah.
That's the whole idea. But that's also kind of the appeal, is sometimes you need the swing all the way to the other side. It's how that pendulum keeps going back and forth and back and forth. That cultural pendulum. Sometimes we're really into violence and sometimes we're not. And you can read into that whatever you want from probably any part of life. But
I only speaking from the Netflix point. I think in Daredevil, what made him so appealing is you had Daredevil who's, oh, we can't do it that way. We've got to do it this way because this is the right way and this is the legal way, and I'm a lawyer. And then you had the Punisher who was like, whatever, while you're over here in this red tape or red suit, I'm going to go take care of this. And I think even at the end of the series, Daredevil let him go, but he told him, I can't do it the way that you do it. There's always got to be a better way. And Punisher was kind of like, okay, well, bye, Felicia. You do you, and I'll do me.
yeah, good luck with that, red
Because
pointy
this
eared
works
guy.
for me. Well, and he was a trained Marine sniper. So in a way, he was almost conditioned to be that way. You have a target, you take it out, and there's no failure. You can't afford to fail. So I don't know if part of, and then, his wife and daughter dying and everything else. I don't know if some of what he has is like PTSD, that he kind of almost goes into this whole, I don't know.
For part, I feel a little bad for the pun, but he sort of goes into this little war zone inside his head.
He does. And in his mind, he's trying to make it safe for everyone, doing what nobody else will step up and do.
Right. The world will inherently be safer with that SOB not in it. And so what I'm
Yep.
doing is right because of that.
Yep. Because although Daredevil catches the guy, okay, now he's got to go through our justice system that had basically
That has
failed
already
great
failed.
on
Right.
all levels.
Right. That justice system
So,
that he knows doesn't work.
yeah, that's broken. And
Yep.
if you have enough money, you can buy it, So I think that's part of the reason why he is, I'm doing this now. They deserve to die. I've already been judged in my head, and now I'm the executioner, and this is the right thing. And I think if slightest doubt, he wouldn't kill him. He wouldn't, because I think for a while he was murder for hire. And I don't think he would ever take anything that didn't, go kill my ex because I'm sleeping with his best friend kind of thing. It would always have to be some kind of where he could see the justice in killing that person, not just because you're paying me to. Like Deadpool.
See, and there you go. Deadpool is almost that pendulum swing in the other direction. It's like the killing stuff, but being funny about it, which is just a totally different flavor of dark. But yeah. So I think that's like, it's just like two ends of the extreme, two extreme ends of the spectrum there.
Yep.
And so usually one is popular when another is not. But somehow we've got both at the moment, I guess.
Well, in Deadpool, you have a lot of casualties. With Punisher, it's precise. I'm not going to take out the whole block of people to get my one guy. I'm going to take out my one guy.
Mm-hmm. Which is, I guess, a different kind of fun, but anyway.
Yeah, more skill, for sure. And I think the appeal to him today is just that. He sees what's right in his head and he's going to do it. And he doesn't really care what comes out of his mouth. He's not real, I guess, politically correct would be the term. He doesn't care. I don't care. Did I hurt your feelings? I don't care. Did I offend you? Good. Because he's so antisocial and,
Then laser focused on that whole justice thing.
Right.
Yep.
Well, he doesn't want to make friends. He's not there for friends. He's there to make the world a better place, you know, in his own little mind.
One criminal corpse at a time.
Right? Yeah. But I do think that Barthenthal played that part amazing.
Cool.
Does anyone want to talk about the incarnations that we've had?
Well, go right ahead.
Well,
Sure,
I'm
let's.
sorry, but the one that really sticks out, and you know what I'm going to say, Thomas, that's the Franken Castle. Where the hell did this come from? I did not read it, so I don't know what happened. But it sure made me think twice about even reading comics. I love weird, but this was just freaking silly.
How silly was it?
Was it meant to be serious? I mean, I don't find
What
it.
I saw of it, yes.
I mean,
Just looking at the covers, yes.
I don't know. I would have to know more about it.
Okay.
I don't know nothing about it.
I'm looking at the covers, and that's kind of, huh. It's kind of like if Bane and Punisher had a baby. They would have a freaking castle.
What was that again?
If Bane and Punisher had a baby, it'd be
Okay.
freaking castle.
Who's the one that gave birth?
Dude, you probably just don't want to go there.
Mr. Freeze made it in his laboratory.
We're trying to keep our rating, okay?
That's the great thing about podcasts is we don't care about ratings.
But, you know, on a DC side, you know who he kind of reminds me of? Not Batman.
I figured you were going not Batman.
Deathstroke. Yeah. But you have both who were military trained snipers. Both lost their daughter and their wife.
But which came first?
Oh. Alexa.
Oh, jeez. There's easier ways to do that. First appearance of Deathstroke was December 1980, so Punisher came first.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. So Marvel did it first. But, I mean, like I said, their backstories are almost identical. He was a good guy for the second.
Yeah.
Okay.
You say so. He's multiple listings in lists of the greatest villains of all time. So I don't know.
Yeah, everybody has that breaking point, though. I think he was a good guy before his breaking point. Before his killing spree started.
Uh-huh. Yeah, so what's Castle's excuse?
Well, same thing. He broke. I think he was broke in war, and he came home, and they broke him again. And at that point, it was just kind of, you know, fuck the world.
Okay.
On that cheery note.
Hey, we're talking about the Punisher here. There's not really going to be a lot of cheery notes, so, you know.
No.
These are not happy stories. There's no fluffy bunnies and puppies here.
But, you know, being the girl, I have to say, he had a wife and a kid. So at one point, his life was totally different. you know. That's got to be pretty traumatic for anybody, you know.
One bad day.
Yep. And then I think that triggered what he dealt with, you know, overseas, and yeah, just on top of each other. It just got the Punisher out of it.
Okay. Any final thoughts before we wrap things up? Where do you see this character going from here? Do you see him making any kind of significant changes, or is he going to pretty much stay the same that he is now? Which I guess he wouldn't be changing, because that's what made him popular, and that's he's pursuing his goal of punishing evil.
Yeah. Ridding the world of crime. I don't know if you could go anywhere else from that. You know, not saying once you're broken, but he doesn't want to be fixed. You know, he doesn't see a problem with the way he is or the way he views the world, you know. And with everything that's led up to that, I don't know if you could change that view. If so, it'd almost be like not killing Batman's parents. You're taking what makes him, you know. So I don't know if you could go any different.
Yeah, I'm not sure there would be a point, really, in changing him. I mean, he's not. You just kind of have to accept the fact that he's not always going to be popular. It's going to ebb and flow, and you
Yeah.
just have to sort of figure out how the timing on that works and take advantage of it when you can, and then just pack him away again when he's not popular anymore.
Yeah, 'cause
That's
I
just
don't think you can put Punisher through counseling.
right. Yeah, sending him to therapy is probably not going to work. I mean,
Yeah.
it
Not a
would
good idea.
it would almost be a mockery of the concept of the character.
Yep. It would.
That would be something you would try to do with Deadpool, because he's more that kind of character. It wouldn't work, but it would be funny as shit when you do it, when you were doing it.
Right. I can see him sitting on top of the couch now.
Mm-hmm.
With his unicorn.
Yep.
What's your thoughts, Wes?
Good question. Isn't there a character, a Frank Castle character that's become Ghost Rider? Isn't that one of the processes they were putting him through? And I think this is like DC's Multiversity. This is another Earth or something like that Marvel has constructed and said, here you go. I'm not sure. I would like to see something viable come from all of this, but I'm not sure that it's in the process now. I don't know that it's in the cards at this moment. I think the character could be fleshed out a little more, because what I've seen is the old Marvel version with their early books, teenagers with angst. And that's what I see here too. The man is a killing machine. He has some compassion. He only kills when someone deserves it, according to his thought process. But he's got the past that eats at him also, hence the angst. I don't know. I would like to see it come forward. I have not seen anything on Netflix. I do not watch any of the programs that Netflix is tossing out there, so I couldn't give you a judgment there. but as long as they don't pull Dolph Lundgren back in to play the Punisher, then I'm okay.
Not being a dedicated reader, I enjoyed him more on the Netflix series than I did in the comic books. Just saying.
Okay.
Okay. With that, we'll take a quick break and come back with our weekly picks. And we're back. It is time for our weekly picks, and leading off this week is Liz.
All right, for my first pick, I'm going with Oliver from Image Comics. This is going to be a twist, haha, on Oliver Twist. Instead of it being set back, they're going with a more futuristic time. Still the same, kids work in the street kind of thing. So should be pretty good because the guy who's doing this wrote the Book of Eli and Rogue the Star Wars story. So should be interesting to see how his film writing translates over into the comic world. I have seen a few preview pages of this, and the artwork looks fantastic, real smooth, very bright. So I'm really looking forward to this one.
Yep. It's based on a good story, so.
Yep.
It is.
I also think it's interesting that this is not the first Oliver Twist variant recently.
Right, I was thinking that too because we just had Olivia Twist from Dark Horse.
Yeah,
which just wrapped up.
right. I'm like, interesting.
It is kind of interesting that all of a sudden there's seems to be an interest in this story.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's a bad thing because yes, it's a very good story. So, but yeah, it should be definitely one to check out. Alrighty, Mike, you're up next.
Okie dokie. My first pick is a Dark Horse book, and I am looking forward to seeing what happens in Aliens Resistance #1. This is kind of a continuation of a couple of different stories. So, and I'm primarily interested in it because I really liked Aliens Defiance, which was the Brian Wood story before this. And I thought Zula Hendricks was a really great character. And so she's going to be back, and she's going to be joining forces with another character from a different Alien series that they recently did. Dark Horse has been doing a really nice job with the Alien/Aliens stuff lately. The Dust to Dust thing that just wrapped up was also really nice. So I'm apparently still down for some Aliens.
Very cool. Yeah, this one does look very interesting. I am next, and for my first choice, I'm going with IDW Publishing, and it's Star Trek Q Conflict. This is a 6-issue miniseries where it's going to take the captains from almost all of the incarnations. There is no Enterprise presence here, but we do have Classic Trek, we have Next Generation, we have Deep Space Nine, and we have Voyager teaming up to deal with a new Q threat. This is written by Scott and David Timpton, who've been writing a lot of Star Trek recently, and it's been pretty freaking awesome. So this should be definitely worth picking up if you're a Trek fan. And honestly, I'm pleasantly surprised that they've not really gone to the well that often to use Q. You can see the temptation to do it, But if you keep using them so often, it's kind of like with the Joker or certain other villains. If you use them too much, then all of a sudden it loses something. So bravo to them not to do use Q so often. And this definitely sounds like it should be a fun ride.
Go into the well too often. You mean like with the Mirror Universe?
Yeah, I'm kind of ready for that. I'm kind of ready for them to kind of move away from that. But
It's time to get better rest, I think. So maybe Q is kind of a good stepping off point here.
I thought they went to the well too often when they started moving to the other shows. I was like, okay, yeah, it was a great little one-shot story in the original show, and then y'all, kept bringing it back, and now, what's it, like 3 miniseries in a row?
Yeah.
That's dealing in that universe or universes. Yeah, it's time to move on. So
yeah, let's have a break. Let's do something else.
I agree.
Which is what they're doing. So credit to them on that part.
Yep. Exactly. Alrighty, Les, you're next.
All right, my first choice comes from Dynamite Entertainment. This is Betty Page #2. This is what they considered the second chapter of The Secret Diary of Betty Page. In this one, Elizabeth II has been kidnapped by aliens. London is being buzzed by UFOs. And Betty Page is asked by Winston Churchill to play dress-up. Their quote is, "Long live Queen Betty the First." Just like the other Page books, this is very amusing, and it's something that's delightful. It's fun to sit and read this stuff, because looking back at the icon that is Betty Page, this is a fun way to do a remembrance. So in this one, they take you back to 1952, and for me, this is a definite. I will be in line for this one.
Yeah, I am also a fan of the Betty Page stuff that they're doing. They're just fun stories. I mean, clearly they're just having a blast with it, and just the whole supermodel secret agent thing is just fun to begin with. And I'm a big fan of the Betty Page books, no doubt about it.
Yep, they've certainly been fun. Yeah, the whole model spy is not necessarily new, but they've taken it in a different direction, and it's definitely been a blast. I'm glad to see this thing's continuing.
Yep.
Alrighty, Liz, you're up again.
Alrighty, for my second pick, I'm going with Battle Pug, the Compugnum. This will take his first 5 volumes. This originally started off as a webcomic. Really, really cute little story. She starts off by telling her 2 little dogs a story, and it's a story of a bigger pug dog that this guy rides around almost like a horse, and they fight all these big evil creatures and stuff. And really cute. It took about 5 years for him to tell his story, and I think, if I'm remembering right, it's been a while since I've read it, but I think he ended this story to go on to Image Comics to do Revival. So it was kind of a bittersweet moment when he ended, but it was kind of like, well, we still get to see his work. But finally, all in one place. If you haven't read the stories, like I said, it's really cute. You have to check it out. If you want to know if you're going to like the story, his webcomic is still up at battlepug.com. and you can kind of check it out there. But like I said, it's a really cute story, really well told and well done. So.
And this is Tim Seeley, right?
No, it's Mike Norton.
It's Mike Norton. Oh, where did I
Yeah.
get that backwards? Jeez.
Yep. But yes, he is working with Tim Seeley with Revival.
Oh, that's probably where I got it backwards. Okay.
Yeah.
I just picked the wrong name off. Silly me. But yeah, it sounds like fun.
Yep. Of course, it's a dog. Everybody loves a dog story. He is the hero of the story.
Alrighty, Mike.
Okie dokie. I'm going to leapfrog back to and piggyback off of Les's pick because my book is a Dynamite book as well. And in a not too different vein from the Betty Page books, we have recently come up with a series based on Elvira, the Mistress of the Dark. And this is actually the first issue of what is, I believe, the second story in that vein, which is entitled The Shape of Elvira. This is number 1. And in this series, Elvira is working on a movie. This is a touching art film about human/gill monster romance, which sounds just like something Elvira would do. And of course, it's never that simple. So, this is the first series. The first Elvira series was. I know some of you will be shocked at hearing this. It was a fun little romp through time. Yes, I actually liked the time travel story. Strangely enough, of course, it was very tongue-in-cheek, of course. And so I expect just as much fun from this new second series. And go check it out.
I will definitely check this one out too.
Yeah.
This looks like fun.
Yeah, if nothing else, it's written by the same guy who does Betty Page. So there we go.
Yes.
A time story?
I know.
That's Mikey approved. Wow.
I thought it was weird too while I was reading it. I'm like, this is.
I know. We
jumping-
can't.
It was jumping. No, it was jumping fictional characters more than actual anything else. So it was more like jumping between novels than jumping through time. But novels set in different times, so you know.
Okay.
I have to go a long way to rationalize this to myself. But anyway.
Yeah. I could tell. Alrighty. I'm up next, and for my second pick, I'm going with Boom Studios, and it is The Return of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It's a brand new series that takes place during her high school days. This is don't call it a reboot, but it's a reboot. Written by Jordi Belair of Redlands for Image, and of course she's done a lot of work on other books as a colorist. With art by Dan Mora, who you may be familiar with his work on the Claws series of books, also from Boom. This takes place during her first few days in Sunnyvale in high school. I have already read this book and loved it. If you're a fan of early Buffy, the humor is there. The action and drama is there. It hits all the right notes. And Mora's art, especially with the likenesses of the characters to the actors, is so spot on. Right down to Giles cleaning his glasses. It looks great. The first issue was very good. It's a nice little setup for, and they've changed a couple things. And supposedly Whedon has some is overseeing this. I don't know how much, but he is overseeing some of this. But I totally loved the first issue and am excited about where things are going to go with this series. So, especially if you're a Buffy fan, pick it up.
All right, if you're going to gush like that, I'm going to have to take a look at it.
It was really good. I mean, right down to the pop culture references and the humor and everything. I was very pleased at the handling of the characters. I mean, you can hear actually hear their voices back at that time. I thought it was really well done.
That is cool.
It is.
So, Les, you're next.
All right, saving the last for last. Marvel Comics is putting out a war book. War is Hell #1. This is in honor of their 80th anniversary. War is Hell is a book that will carry 2 stories. One is written by Howard Chaykin, the other by Philip Kennedy Johnson. I'm in line for this one because of Chaykin himself. And it's going to be one of those books that just harkens back to the old war comics that Marvel and several others put out in the 60s. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they can do with these little gems. And the way I see it, this won't miss. This will be good stuff.
Good, clean fun.
With Chaykin, I'm not so sure the clean will come, but yeah.
Well, it's going to be, I mean, it's going to have to be toned down from normal since it is a Marvel book, but...
True.
Still ought to be interesting.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, these series of one-shots kind of intrigue me, and this is definitely one of them. Be interested in seeing how it goes. So, very cool.
Yep.
Alrighty, and our honorable mention this week is
an annual Grimm Fairy Tales from Zenescope. It looks like Sky and her friends are going to have to stop Merlin, who has just, I don't know, kind of settled down in Camelot. Everything's kind of going cool, and he's not happy. He doesn't want just Camelot. He wants the world. So, with power comes great responsibility. So, this should be a pretty good little story. Like I said, I think this is actually wrapping up where a story arc is going to begin. So, if you're a fan and need a little tide over, definitely pick up the annual. There it is.
You mean a bad guy who isn't content with his own stuff and he wants somebody else's? I can't see it.
Yeah. He wants all the toys on the playground.
Yep, he wants all the toys and
the playground.
And the parking lot and all the cars in it and
yeah.
The fire hydrant and everything. Yeah, no, it should be fun.
Should.
The Zenescope stuff is a cool take on. It's fun in terms of kind of superhero-y type stuff with a lot of supernatural twists.
Yep.
So it would be a good way in to looking at the stuff. A good starting point for checking things out.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Any special shout-outs or mentions this week?
No.
Okay. With that, we'll go on to our regular shout-outs. first off, I want to thank Manny the Martyr for supplying the music for our podcast. Definitely check out their music. We'll have a link in our show notes. A couple EPs and maybe something down the road. Who knows? We'll see. Thank you guys for your support. Secondly, want to thank the fine folks that make up Potter and Family on Twitter for spreading the word of the fellowship. If you're looking for another podcast to check out, here's what you do. Go to Twitter and do a search, hashtag Potter and Family, one whole word, and just keep on scrolling. And if you catch something that you go, that sounds interesting, by all means, download that, and who knows, you may pick up another show that you just can't wait for the next episode to drop. Thank you guys for your support. And finally, you, dear listener, thank you for listening, downloading, and listening to today's episode. We very much appreciate your support. We would love to hear from you. Comments, suggestions, complaints, questions, observations, whatever. Please contact us. And there are several ways you can do that. Email at thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. That's our email address. You can send us something that way. Or you can go to the website, and there's a contact form that you can fill out on our About Us page. There's also our social media. By all means, follow us there. On Fellowship, we are the Fellowship of the Geeks, and you can contact us through there if you like. And we're obviously on Twitter. We are at Fellowship Geeks. And if you like to follow our personal Twitter accounts, by all means do. Mike can be found at Mikey Geek. Liz can be found. She's got a new account name. So Liz can be found at LN_geek. That's an L as in Liz, N as in Newman, _geek. And of course, I'm still at Tom TC Geek. And wherever you download our podcast, whether it's through iTunes, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, or YouTube, if you would please rate our show, and if you have a couple extra moments, a review would be awesome as well. Any final thoughts before we wrap things up today?
We finally converted Liz over to the geek fold.
I'm geek.
One of us.
One of us.
One of us.
Nice. Oh, and the other place that I don't know, maybe we should add it in there. The other place that you can get in touch with us is in person at the meetups every month.
Oh, that's right. Our next meetup will be February 9th, I believe. Let me verify that date.
Believe that, yeah, February 9th.
February 9th at 7 p.m. Like I stated earlier, you could check out our brand new events page at the website. And we'll be meeting once again at the comic book store A Galaxy Call Dallas, which is located at 1238 Beltline Road, and that's Suite 365 in Garland. And this is Garland, Texas. Unfortunately, for those who don't live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, we would love to meet you too, but yeah, that's a little bit of travel for you guys. And
we're not buying plane tickets, so there you go.
That's right.
Sorry.
We love you, but damn.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
So definitely check our events page for updates regarding our meetups and whatever other events we may have down the road. So.
Yep.
Anything else? Thank you for that.
Yeah, no problem. Just thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening once again. It's very much appreciated. I hope y'all all have a good week. And until next time, read more comics and support your local stores.
We thank you for listening to the show. Comments, suggestions, and questions can be sent to email@thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. You can follow us on Facebook at The Fellowship of the Geeks and on Twitter at Fellowship Geeks. Until next time,